Next week will be for the Big Ten, but today we wake up the echoes. The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame are here. We're delighted to have their head coach, Marcus Freeman, their new quarterback, Riley Leonard, and a young man by the name of Jordan Clark, who you might recognize. He may look a little bit like the fellow sitting next to him because he is RC's son, and we are just thrilled to have all of you guys. Thank you very much for making it over here.
Appreciate you having me.
Especially getting through all of this. So let's just go around a little bit here. Let's start. Coach, I've been asking this to all the coaches I've had on this week, and that is, but we really live in a new college football world. For those who haven't paid a whole lot of attention, they're going to wake up this season in a different universe from the one that we've known for the last 150 years, where certainly all the conferences have been realigned. That doesn't impact you perhaps as much as it does some others, but the 12-team college football playoff, how, if at all, has that impacted the way you and your team have prepared for the season?
You know, I think the mindset you have going into the season doesn't change, right? Is that every week you want to prepare your team to win. But more than anything, I think we've had to have a plan for week 12 to week 14, because obviously we won't play in a college championship game because we're not in the conference. But what is that plan from right after your last game of the regular season to the first round of playoffs? And that has changed because you're now having practice when your players are having finals. You're talking about, okay, what do we want to do physically to make sure you're ready for a playoff game and all those different logistics that go into that. But that's, to me, where the forward thinking has come.
Riley, I got to see you play EA Sports College Football 25 yesterday. You were playing with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I think you're very familiar. Yeah. You're very familiar with their new quarterback. Yeah. Can you talk about the fact that he fumbles all the time on the game?
He's a little slow too. Golly. Yeah, no. Me and JC played yesterday. He absolutely torched me. I don't have a console. I don't really play video games too much, but he.
That's it too.
You make the decision to go to Notre Dame. Yeah. It's a step up from Duke in so many ways. What drew you to the Fighting Irish and to play for Coach Freeman?
Yeah, so it's a couple things. Number one, the players. On my official visit, we took a dinner downtown, and that's kind of what ended up convincing me that I wanted to go there. You know, you walk into the locker room every day. You want to be around guys that just have your back, are great people on and off the field. Notre Dame's got it. As long as the coaching staff as well, you know. You got to throw that in there. The coaching staff play a big part. Obviously, you have a coordinator like Mike Denbrock coming from LSU. Jane Daniels obviously had a great year, so I'm excited to get into that offense. He always says we got the keys to the car, so to be able to operate an offense like that would be a lot of fun for me.
How about you, Jordan? Obviously, football is in the blood. It's in the family business. What made you decide here, as you've moved along in your career, that this was the right place for you?
Yeah, I think for me in my last year, what I wanted to do was progress and grow. And I think that there's no better place to do that than Notre Dame. You're talking about a place where, you know, it's listed as like a new Ivy school on the Forbes list, you know what I'm saying? And then you're in the locker room with guys like Riley Leonard. You're in the locker room with guys like Benjamin Morrison. So in the classroom, you know what I'm saying, on the field, I'm with the best of the best. And when you're with the best of the best, you can do nothing but grow.
So I'm dying to hear, maybe we'll try and set aside a little time, and obviously I don't want to exclude it, but, you know, I know your dad, I mean, I've known him for about 12, 15 years in one way. And the way he motivates everybody around here and all that kind of stuff. Like when he's getting you ready, like before a game, is he in your face RC? He's got such big energy. We'll explain your tweets a little bit later. I know what RC is like when he's just our colleague. What's it like when this guy is your dad?
He's more like my best friend than he is my dad. You know what I'm saying? Before games, I think he understands that I'm already locked in enough. We don't do too much yelling or talking. He slide me a note, you know what I'm saying, or remind me to do some things, remind me, you know what I'm saying, to compete and you know, just have fun. But besides that, it's understood. We don't have to do too much talking.
The college football game day is the worst day of my week every single season.
Yeah.
I go to every game. I talk to Riley about it. I go to every single game, and I'm a nervous wreck the entire time. I don't like sitting by the other parents because they want to talk football with me, and I ain't here to talk football. I'm here to be a dad. And so, like, it's going to – and I know now with the step up in competition, they're starting off at Texas A&M. I'm going to be a nervous wreck every Saturday, but I got so much confidence in this man and what he's building and also him and the things that he's done, and I've got opportunity to be around some of his teammates, you know, recently, man. I'm just so excited for his opportunity to play ball with them.
So, Coach, let's talk a little bit about that. It is a new world of college football, as we've talked about, and all these other coaches are figuring out how their schedule is going to look. For example, I mean, the SEC no longer has divisions. The Big Ten no longer has divisions. How has all of this impacted Notre Dame with your unique scheduling situation?
You know, I think for us, we schedule teams in every conference, and we know we're going to play coast to coast. I think as we continue to move forward, schedules are really already made out through 2030 something.
Mm-hmm.
But as we move forward, we got to make sure that our schedule lines up with those of the SEC and the Big Ten, that, hey, as long as we do what we're supposed to do, we still have every opportunity to make the college football playoff. And that's the biggest thing, is that we have to make sure we have a schedule that is similar to some of those other Big Ten and SEC and other conferences, to make sure that, again, our path to the playoff is similar.
Riley, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
yeah, Riley, you went to a basketball school, right? It's Coach K, and it was about what the Duke basketball team is going to do as they moved on to Shire. For you now, being at Notre Dame, being the quarterback at the most historic university in football, how has that pressure changed you, if any?
Yeah, I mean, this is what every kid dreams of. Everybody wants to be the quarterback at Notre Dame. The support that we have all around the country is like no other. So I feel the expectations and the pressure, but I embrace it. Like, we all embrace it. We understand what the expectations are, and trust me, we're putting more pressure on ourselves to win than anybody. So it's going to be a lot of fun this year. We
have lived in a world where one loss throughout the history of college football, certainly in this playoff era and the BCS era that came before it, one loss sometimes was as good as taking you completely out of the picture. The idea that now with 12 teams, it seems almost inconceivable that we won't get several that get in with as many as 2 losses, which has never happened before. How, if at all, does that impact the way you prepare at the beginning of a season and each week?
I don't think it changes much, right? Even if it was a 4-team playoff, you lose 1 game, you lose 2 games, and they say, okay, you're not going to make the playoff.
Right.
You still prepare to win every single game you play.
Yeah.
And now, the difference being that, hey, at the end of the season, some guys opt out of bowl games. Mm-hmm. Right? But now it's still the same mindset in a regular season. No matter if we have a chance to make playoffs or not, we are going to prepare to win every game we play. Now, the depth is going to be important. Right? We have to make sure we are very strategic in terms of how we're preparing those scout team guys. Is that a guy that's just scout team, or is he a scout team and should do some reps to get ready for the game, to make sure we're developing those guys?
But, Coach, this is turning almost into the NFL. Obviously, the NIL was the first step, right, to moving this game forward. But also now having a 12-team playoff. Dabo Swinney mentioned, because Dabo's kind of like always whining about something, but Dabo Swinney mentioned that, teams are going to have to figure out how they play late in the season. Like, if you are a team that solidified your spot in the top 6 or whatever it is, do you play your Riley Leonard the last week? Are you working some of those scout team guys in because you might need some depth to play inside the playoffs? Are you guys already talking about some of those things and how they will affect team building?
Yeah, I think for us, you're going to want to win every game you play, because it's going to affect your playoff seeding. Okay. Right? If you got a chance, you're going to make the playoff going to week 11 and 12, well, you still want to make sure you get the highest seeding you can get for us, which would be 5. And so I don't see that being an issue for our program, especially right now. But the future's always uncertain. We'll see what happens.
That is a unique element of all of this. You say the highest you can be is 5. The top 4 spots, which will get buys, will go to the 4 highest ranked conference champions. So there are some advantages and disadvantages to all of this.
Yeah, I think as we look at it, okay, so those 4 highest conference champions play week 13. We don't play week 13. We finish after week 12. So we do get a bye. It just happens to be
just a different
week
time.
13, right?
It's an interesting way of looking at it, an important way of looking at it. You bring this up. Like, I've been doing this. I can literally say I've been doing this since before you were born, Jordan, talking about this and talking about what college athletes should and shouldn't get, and NIL and all the rest of that. You've now been in college and playing during the time, like literally real time, watching this transition. How has it changed? How has the experience of being a collegiate athlete changed from the time you first arrived at Arizona State, if I remember correctly, to where we are now?
It's changed a bunch. The landscape is entirely different. So much opportunity for us. I think that is something great. Kids are being able to capitalize on themselves now in college. The league isn't something that everybody has to shoot for immediately. Guys are getting to stay longer, develop themselves, and also, meet financial means as well. I think it's been great. I think that the portal is something awesome. It's allowed me the opportunity to be at Notre Dame, be with these guys, and I think that NIL is awesome as well.
How about for you, Riley? Because again, you were there at Duke. You've been in the game for a while. It has changed in so many ways. I think fans are trying to process it. What is it? How is it different being a player now than it was when you started?
Yeah, it's a crazy world, and I think JC hit it perfectly. We wouldn't be able to be sitting here today with you guys talking and doing all these cool things if it weren't for NIL and these opportunities. I think there is some, things we need to clean up and some misconception. Everybody thinks that us guys, we're just transferring to Notre Dame for X or Y reason. But it just opens up so many doors and so many windows for us to go through and, really better ourselves on and off the field. For sure.
As a final thought, I'd like to get a coach's perspective on it as well. You're still a young coach yourself, but you now also straddle this time, and you will be here as this thing evolves into where it goes. Do you feel where the game is right now is in a good and sustainable place?
Yeah, I don't know if it's sustainable. There's still going to be, details ironed out as we move forward. I think we'll look back in 5 years and say, hey, look at that time period where college football changed. And but I'm a huge advocate for young people being able to maximize their opportunity to make money off of their true name, image, and likeness, and also the transfer portal. If there's a better situation for them, great, right? Great. But I think more than anything for us as coaches, it's still a reminder to have success, you got to double down on relationships. I think that's the way to have success. It has nothing to do with NIL, transfer portal. It's about relationships. It's about gaining the trust of the people you coach and coaching them hard.
Coach Free, how do you get guys like this who transfer to Notre Dame to understand the hate they're supposed to have for their rivals like USC and those teams they see every single year?
We'll get to that during that week. Right now it's about making sure they know about Notre Dame, what makes this place more. But as we get into those rivalry weeks, I'll make sure they understand that.
Well, you need to be getting ready right now for Texas A&M. That's
right.
The first game on ABC, 7:30 Eastern Time on Saturday night, August 31st, against actually Mike Elko, who was your former coach, so a lot of connections there. Guys, thank you very much. Good luck to all of you. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm sorry. Thank you for bearing with us through the sort of complicated circumstances without computers, which I know for people your age has got to be extremely difficult.
Give me something.